Right. So, hey, everybody, welcome to another episode of the Headstrong podcast. I'm your host, Danielle Mills. I'm super excited today because it's actually National Left-Handed People Day, and I couldn't have a better person on with me today than the ultimate lefty. This guy is, okay, let's go back. This guy I've probably known of since I was like 10, 11 years old, which is crazy, but he's phenomenal. He's a amazing professional tennis player. He's been able to travel all over the world, compete against everybody you can think of. You probably already know him. It's Donald Young. So welcome to the show, Donald.
Hey, glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's pretty cool to kind of get to talk to you, and just from like knowing you for so long. I kind of want to take it back though. Can you talk to us like how you even got into tennis? Because I remember when I was like 10 and 11, you were already like superstar status. So I'm like, where did this all start?
For me, well, my parents, firstly, they played, so I was kind of always around it. They actually met each other on the tennis court playing a mixed doubles match. So that my mom says she won, but my dad, he always refutes that. But that's so yeah. When they had me, there was no real babysitter. So when they would go practice, they would bring me there and put me on the court. And if I was like a good kid and quiet, I got a chance to hit. So I kind of was quiet, and I got my turn at the end, and I loved it. And from there, like the affinity grew for the game, and I just kept playing, and things just kind of like, kept building from there.
No, definitely. But like you already were at like a super, super high level and like doing so well at like a really young age though. Like when did you know like you were kind of something special when it comes to tennis? Like when did it like become real for you?
Man, it really clicked for me that I thought I could do more than just play junior tennis. And the goal was to initially get a college scholarship. That was our goal. Like we couldn't afford college, so I was going to get a college scholarship so school would be paid for. And I would say around 13, it actually happened. Like that was when I really realized. Before then, it was like I was playing tournaments and beating people, and it was nice, but I won our Midwest closed. So I'm from Chicago, so our section has like a closed championship. And at 13, I won the 18. So I was already beating guys who were, going to Northwestern and Purdue and Michigan, and they had full rides. So I was like, if I'm doing that now, that's secure. So let's see what the next step is. And after that happened really fast. Then I ended up turning pro a year later, and I was one in the world in juniors. 2 years after that, it kind of really it was crazy after that.
Oh yeah. Like you elevated like this, like it was just like nonstop. I want to kind of like dive deeper into it though, because to be such a high level champion at such a young age, that has to come with a lot of sacrifice. It has to come with a lot of like mindset. And this is a mindset podcast. So I kind of want to know like, where did this like champion's mindset that you have kind of develop? Like what did that look like? And just kind of talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. So I think, with my parents having played, and my dad played in college and some on the satellites, and my mom was like a weekend warrior, they kind of installed in me like their mindset. So I didn't really have one myself, but I kind of took on theirs. So I had like an old person mentality and like a young person body. So that kind of helped out a lot. So I thought like them, like I played like them. I like used different stretch slices and different shots that older people would use because they weren't as fast enough to run or do things. So that kind of like mindset came from that. And then the winning, it was kind of just playing them. And when I was a kid, I hit with a bunch of older people, whoever wanted to hit and practice. So I would listen to them and how they thought about life and the game. And it was totally different from people my age. We were just having fun or whatever the situation may be. And then kind of when I started winning, kind of like winning begets winning. Like you kind of like win, and then you win more, and you want to win more. So you just keep practicing and keep doing whatever it takes to win. And it just kind of, it builds from there. And I was just enjoying being on the court so much, and winning is basically the only thing that keeps me happy, if I'm to be 100% honest with you. So the winning propelled me to do more things, to win and beat more people and get better every day. So it's kind of went hand in hand.
No, definitely. I mean, this is kind of like a sidebar question, but do you love winning, or do you like, which do you like more? Like, do you hate losing, or do you love winning? Like, which is worse for you? Because as like a true competitor, I feel like you probably hate losing.
Yeah, I hate losing. Like that hurts. I can even go back to playing Monopoly as a kid, and I would like slip a few $100 500s in my pocket before the game started because I wanted to win that bad.
Oh my God.
Yeah, but it's just, I hate losing. But the something about winning just is nothing that beats it in anything, to be honest.
Yeah. Now that we're talking about that, it kind of brings me back to like trying to, since I've left the game, I've left the sport. I didn't achieve the levels you've achieved, clearly, but you know, it's hard to kind of recreate those types of like moments, like walking out and there's an arena, people are cheering and screaming. Like once you're kind of like done, it's hard to like have that level of like feeling again and trying to find ways to get that. So I just think it's so cool that you still get to do that. It's awesome.
Yeah, I enjoy it. Like when you're away from it, like times like now, you really miss like going out there and people are there and signing autographs and just, you know, just being in the environment. It's nothing like it. It's a special time.
No, definitely. I know a lot of people want to know this, but can you talk to us about like what your daily routine looks like? Let's talk about it prior to COVID, even though you did mention off air that nothing's changed too much for you. So like, what is your daily routine looks like? Like when Donald wakes up, what happens?
Yeah, so this in season or out of season?
Let's do off season first.
Okay. Yeah, so off season I'll wake up, make breakfast. I've kind of gotten into cooking in the last few years, so that's more my thing. It's not that hard, but breakfast is kind of what I do. I'll make breakfast. I'll get up. I'll like roll out, like use my little Theragun, my massage gun, and kind of get a little loose. I would normally head to my trainer. We would work out, I don't know, 9:30, 10. So we'd get like an hour and a half, 2 hours there. Then I would go to practice, hit for like 2 hours. Then I would go eat lunch, and then I would come back and practice again. And then it's pretty much like recovery, hanging out. I like watching Netflix and just movies in general. I'm a big nap taker, so I definitely take naps as well. And then sleep. Sleep is very important for me. I love to sleep and get after it the next day. It kind of just goes on and on like that.
Wow. No, that's kind of cool. Like that's your off season. Like you're doing like 2-a-days every day, basically.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, just 2-a-days. Or I also like to sometimes do one long practice. So I'll do 1 3.5-hour practice some days, like maybe once or twice a week, just to change it.
Okay. And then like during season, how does it adjust a little bit?
Yeah, so during season, the fitness is not before the tennis. I kind of wake up, you know, do the whole breakfast, and I would hit earlier, so around 10, maybe 11 for a couple hours, and then I'll do fitness after, but something like, you know, a little more light. And and then back to sleep and eating and having fun and watching Netflix and doing the whole thing again.
Oh, that's so cool. I think a lot of the listeners don't understand like tennis is like an all year round type of sport. Like they're very familiar with basketball and football. And there's like this long off season where tennis, it's like very short and there's like not that much time to really work on your game extensively because you're always like traveling and going to tournaments. So like for you, do you enjoy the season more or like the off season? What would you say?
It's a tough, like I enjoy playing. I don't enjoy traveling at all anymore. Like I'd rather just be there. Yeah. The part is killing me. Like, I mean,
we got to talk about the traveling then. So like, what do you mean? What do you mean? What don't you like about the traveling? Like the aspect of flying or?
Yeah, the long flights. I don't like what it takes to, you know, get to the place. I love the places and I love being there. If I could teleport, it'd be the best thing in the world, but I can't. So I love being there, not the time it takes to get there. But
talk to us a little bit about travel because you mentioned that you don't really like traveling.
Yeah, that's 100% correct. I don't enjoy the travel aspect that much in the sense of I love being at the places. I don't enjoy the plane rides to get there anymore. It's just the going through the airport and dealing with the people and, you know, lugging this luggage around and just the cars and car rides. It's like some tournaments are 2 hours from the airport. Others are a little closer, but it's just dealing with all the different people. But I enjoy all of the places I travel to and being there and playing, but just not the time it takes to get there. That part is killing me.
Yeah, like people underestimate that there's like time change issues. You got to deal with jet lag and like, I don't know, like for you, for example, like let's say you're going to Australia. How do you prepare for that in itself? Because it's a long flight, but then like the time change, like what does that look like?
Yeah, like over the time of years of playing, I have a set kind of body clock, but I don't really have one. It's like easy to adjust. Like it's been easy to kind of, if it's dark, I go to sleep. If it's not dark, then, you know, I'm trying to be awake. And in Australia, I kind of don't sleep the night before. So when I do hop on that actual flight, I'm pretty tired and I can sleep anywhere at all times. So that's not an issue either. So I can fall asleep at the drop of a hat and sleep a good 8 to 10 hours on one of those flights. So that helps out a lot.
Oh my gosh. You know that is like a huge skill set, because I'll say that I'm the same way. Like I'm the person that the second I get on the plane, I sit down. Something about like the air on the plane like knocks me out. And literally like when I used to have to travel to like Europe and stuff, they'd have to wake me up to like have a meal because I'd be knocked out. And it's so hard for me to stay awake on a plane. So like a lot of people struggle with that. So it's great that you don't have that issue, because imagine like a lot of people are like tired when they get to these places and they feel different. And you're like, no, I'm good.
Yeah, that is a skill that you have. And I've grown accustomed to having, well, like, because some people I know, they literally can't sleep without some help, Ambien or something like that. They need something to help them go to sleep. And I don't need that. So I enjoy it. And it makes the flights a lot easier than they would be otherwise.
No, definitely. So all these amazing places that you've been able to travel to over the years, I mean, you turned pro at such a young age, so that you've been traveling internationally for like well over 10 years now, or what do you think? Probably like 12 years now, or?
Yeah. So if I turn, no, it's been more than that, probably like 14 or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So out of all the places you've been, what are your top 3 places and why?
Okay. All right. So, Prostějov, Czech Republic. I love, it's a weird place, but I love the spot. Probably it was a team event. We played there when I was like 14 and we won it. But apart from that, like, the city was beautiful. The food was good. It was just really good vibes. It was in the summertime, which makes a lot of places a lot better than they would be at any other time of year. Another spot is Thailand. Bangkok it's awesome for me. I love that place. Like just the food, the people are so nice. Again, for me, it was my first ATP Tour final I ever made there, so that has some special memories. And other than that, I would have to say Australia, like you just said. I love Australia. Like, I mean, I feel like it's the second U.S. Like, it's everything you would get here, but just nicer. Like, people are just so nice, and they're just so welcoming. And, again, it's summer when I go, so I might be a little biased, but I love it there.
And people have, like, the coolest accent. So it's like they just sound happy all the time, even when they're just talking to you. Like,
thanks.
Yeah. Okay. So that's interesting. I feel like a lot of those places have got to be tied to some good results. And I think that's why you like some of those spots. Cause I don't know if you were like me, but if you go to a city and you lose, you're like, get me out of here. Like, get me out of here. Unless you're like stuck there for like 4 weeks. It's like, okay, I need to go to the next city now. Like I need to leave.
Now, like ASAP.
For real. I feel like, you know, a lot of times if you're not there for a long period, you don't get to like see all the different sites and stuff. Like there's so many places I want to go back and see because I couldn't really see them because when you're still doing it. But like when you travel these places, like you're there for work, you're there for your job, not to like, you know, explore. So it's kind of cool. It's definitely cool. All right. I want to ask you something about a time that wasn't so great. Can you talk to us about like, maybe what would you think is like the biggest obstacle that you've had to face in your career and kind of how you overcame it?
Yeah. So, I would have to say, well, there was 2, like when I started playing tour, like when I was like 15, I played a couple tournaments and then I played a few like leading up to about time I was like 17, 18. I had lost about 14 ATP tour matches in a row before I had won one. So that was kind of tough, but it was a little easier to deal with because at the time I was like 15, 16, 17 playing grown. I could kind of rationalize that a little better in my mind. But I would have to say 2012, I went from February to August and I didn't win a match. So I lost 17 matches in a row and I started the year like 30 in the world. So I went from literally 30 to like 90 in that span and didn't win a match. And that was pretty tough. That got to the point where I didn't even want to go to the next tournament because I figured it was going to be another loss. But luckily at the time I had a really great like coach with me at the time, Roger Smith. And he kind of was talking to me. He's like, Donald, this time sucks, but you're going to look back on this and we're all going to laugh, you know, at these 17 matches you lost. And that kind of helped me. And then I ended up winning a match that tournament and kind of broke the streak. And the year didn't finish great, but the next year I was able to get back in the top 100 and things kind of changed from there.
Wow. Like how much, what was that like tied to, because I know like going through like you said 17 match losing streak, that's really tough for one. Like we can all relate to that, like in some aspect or form, going through something and experiencing like a setback. What do you think it was about what he said, or what do you think changed that finally made it change for you so that it was like you could finally break the streak? Because you know, like at that point it's more mental than anything. It's not even physical at that point at all. After 17 it's completely mental.
Yeah, 100%. It became mental and I wasn't enjoying playing, but he just made it a lot more fun to like be out there, and it kind of like the laughs like kind of took the stress out of it, and just, you know, follow this game plan, go about it. If you lose, it's just another match you're losing anyway. And if you win, it's like, you know, the best day ever. So it was kind of like how it was. And he kind of worded it that made me really feel like, let's just go out there and play. Let's just go out there and have fun. And then when he said, we'll laugh at it some years later, he showed me that he believed that this was just the beginning and I was going to be a lot better than that. So that kind of freed me up. And, you know, having someone you trust believing you as well, other than yourself and just your immediate family, it helps out a lot mentally.
No, definitely. I'm so glad that you broke that streak. You've come so far since then.
Yeah.
Okay, so I know a lot of people want to know this because not all of our listeners are so privy to understand tennis and the way that you play. What would you say is like the biggest misconception about tennis, or maybe a couple misconceptions about tennis?
Yeah, like kind of what we talked about earlier, how the life seems so glamorous. Like, you know, you're traveling to all these cool places. Like if you name off your summer schedule, it's like, yeah, we're going to go to Paris, Rome, Madrid, we're going to go to London, and then we're going to hit Casablanca, and then we're going to go to New York and DC. It just sounds like some jet setter's lifestyle, right? But in the sense that you're going there to play and you don't get to see these places really. You're so tired after the match. And if you go, you're jeopardizing, you know, your job maybe the next day on, you know, being productive and winning. So that's a big misconception, that it's just such a glamorous, amazing lifestyle. And don't get me wrong, it's really good, but it's not what it's like, you know, talked about and how people who don't play would see it as. They think you just go there to these places just to visit and hang out.
No, that's a good point. I think another one that a lot of people have no idea about is that like when it comes to like tennis and like earning and stuff, it's like all tied to what you actually do. Like, did you win? Did you lose? Do you have sponsors? Like people think like, oh yeah, like they're just making all this guaranteed money. It's like, no.
Yeah, I agree with you. As far as like, you'll play a tournament and they'll see the prize money of the tournament. Like, oh my God, like even a challenger. You made $50,000 like for a week. Like, no, man,
Oh.
It's not even close. So yeah, that's another misconception as well, is like the amount of money, like you said, that they think you're making just because you're there, you know, just because you showed your face.
No, that's a really, really big one that I thought of. Like everybody always thinks that, and they're always like shocked, which is kind of interesting. And even like from like an injury standpoint, like kind of what happens when tennis players unfortunately like suffer an injury, like what happens then? It's like they only freeze your ranking for so long, and then it's like, okay, you know, because you're like an independent contractor, so you got to like make it work.
Oh yeah, and the last one I think is like as not like with other sports, like, you know, say, I don't know, you win the NBA finals, you're the champs, right? Like you're kind of like the champs forever. And in tennis, you kind of have to like repeat it like year after year to just keep showing that you're the best. Like if you have one good year and one terrible year, like you're nothing again. It's like you can't even get into the same tournament the next year if you don't do well again and again and again. So you're constantly proving yourself over and over and over again just to stay kind of where you're at.
No, definitely. Like to stay relevant and to stay like in people's like minds, you have to like really attack it and kill it and be on it. And, you know, it's kind of says a lot about you to be consistently like that for, you know, 10 plus years. I think it's really admirable that you've been able to do that, because it's not easy. Like, guys, let me tell you, it's not easy. Tennis is really hard. So it's really cool that you've been able to do that for so long.
Thanks.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about this Young in Motion, this business that you have, Yim, right? Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. So talk to us about like what made you create it? Where did it come from? Tell us all about it. We want to know.
Yeah, so Young in Motion kind of started with some friends and I. We were, my parents had a tennis facility and we were just sitting around, just hanging out. And we were like coming up with names like, you know, what could we call what we do like together? Like, you know, and it was like, we went through a lot of different things. Ultimately came up with Yim, which was Young in Motion. It initially meant like, you know, young people. Me and my friends have been extremely blessed and fortunate to be able to like travel the world, do a lot of things that a lot of people at our ages couldn't do for whatever reason it was. So we kind of called it Young in Motion. It was kind of us young people doing crazy cool things, traveling the world, having fun. And then it like slowly moved into on the kids side of getting kids outside of the house and outside of the playing video games and outside and doing fitness and working out. And I ended up, you know, landing a nice relationship with the Boys and Girls Club of America. So here in Atlanta, and you know, it just kind of goes through talking to the kids, getting them out, like, you know, just showing them a different side of life than what they're normally used to seeing. And it's been fun so far. I hope to get like more into it and have more events, but it's been good so far. Yeah.
Oh, that's really cool that like initially it started off as one thing and then just by way of that, it's kind of turned into like a foundation kind of a thing too. Would you say that it's like a foundation also?
Yeah. Turned into like that. Like, so kids all the time, my parents, we do things to help kids and get them out and like Goodwill and like I said, the Boys and Girls Club. So we do a lot of cool things like that. And again, a lot of players think it's cool, just the Young in Motion, that some of them wear the shirts. Yeah, I've had friends like Kyrgios wears it. He's worn it a couple of times. Jack Sock has. Yeah, Tommy Paul's asked me for shirts. Taylor Townsend wears them. And a lot of my friends. So it's been a lot of fun.
That's cool. I think I need to get some merch. Like I need to be rocking some Young in Motion shirts when I'm not wearing my own stuff.
Yeah, no, I need a Headstrong shirt for sure.
Oh yeah, we'll make that happen. That is so cool. I love it because I bet a lot of the kids that you work with, like this is their first like exposure to tennis or exposure to doing something so different, because nowadays, as you know, kids are so addicted to the video games and their phones. And it's like, not like when we were growing up, when it's like you did stuff outside and you played and there was still video games. Like I'm sure you had a Game Boy. I know I did, but like, you know, you could still do stuff. So I think it's awesome that you're like exposing kids to new things, and that's really cool.
Yeah, no, I enjoy it. I like kids in general and just seeing them active and doing stuff, because I've seen the games and they don't want to leave, and the kids are, you know, they're not in the same shape we were when we were kids, because we did things. We played games and a lot of different sports, and you just had fun outside. Like now outside, it's like so dangerous and not fun that kids aren't going out the thing.
No, that's a really, really good point. Speaking of like things being different outside, talk to us about like COVID-19, like as a pro tennis player who's like out there doing it at a high level, what was it like for you when you found out that this pandemic was not just like a talk, it's like a real thing, and like everything changed? Like, can you talk about like what that was like?
Yeah, that was crazy. Like when COVID like initially hit, I had literally just got back from playing a challenger in Monterrey, Mexico. And you know, like people were talking about it a little bit there, like some cases were here, but it was really, you know, like the way you were hearing about it was kind of like, it was just something, some anomaly. It wasn't anything that was going to be this big. And then when I got back, and my dad coaches Taylor Townsend, and they had just left for Indian Wells. So they had gotten to Indian Wells. I had a stringer who was telling me, yo, everything's about to get canceled. I'm like, no way. And then later that day, he sends me a text that showed Indian Wells canceled. My dad didn't know. I called him. I'm like, when are you coming home? He's like, well, whenever she's out of the tournament. And I'm like, well, if the tournament's canceled. He's like, no, wait, shut up. So he gets off the phone, it checks, it's canceled. And from there, it was really like a domino kind of effect. Like everything just went one after the other, and it got crazy. And a lot of people were losing their lives, which was super unfortunate. And it wasn't just people getting sick. It was people actually dying. And, you know, and tennis was really low on the list for things to come back. And, you know, I'm happy things are getting back closer to normal now than they were at that point. And lockdown was crazy, just being in the house. I mean, you didn't know what was what. Like we go into the grocery store with gloves and mask on, and you don't know. It was just a crazy time.
You feel like too, like from a tennis standpoint, it's a crazy time because as a player, like there may be tournaments coming up in Europe. And like I was talking to another friend of mine who's still playing, and he's like, I don't know if I'm gonna go to those tournaments because then I gotta like quarantine for 14 days when I get there, and then like that affects because it's like he's playing challengers, and I'm like, wow, that's a great point. Like to have to consider all of that now in addition to everything else that you typically have to consider. So it's like, who knows what's going on with the tour and what's happening. Like it's really cool. Like, and not cool, but it's really like unknown.
It's a big unknown. Like I know I'm definitely not making any trips to Europe this year. So because and being American, I don't think we can even get over there, to be honest. So like I just don't know how that work, and coming back home. I just don't want to take the risk of not being able to come back home, and my parents are getting older now, so I don't want to put them at any, unnecessary risk as well.
That's a great point, because you may not, like, imagine you travel somewhere and then it's fine, but then all of a sudden it's like, then you're stuck there, then you can't get back. And then like I've heard like horror stories of people stuck in countries. So it's probably on the safer route to just stay here and just kick butt in the US this year.
Yeah, this year it's 100 US travel only.
Wow. Okay, so I have a little bonus question for you. If you were not playing pro tennis, what would you be doing? Like, what do you think your life would be like if you didn't take this direction?
Yeah, so I was into baseball, but I for sure would have gone to college. I really liked the University of Georgia growing up, so maybe there. But apart from that, I've always said this, and I would have always wanted to be a dentist. Like I've always wanted to be a dentist. Like growing up, that was like my thing. From time I was in like 4th, 5th grade, that's what I really wanted to do. So if I could rewind and wasn't playing tennis, I would probably try to see how that side or field would have been for me. And I think I would have enjoyed it quite a bit. I like helping people.
Wow. So are you saying that you enjoy going to the dentist, or?
I don't mind it. I don't mind it. I like the effects of going, and I'd rather that than the alternative. So, and luckily I haven't had anything too serious that needs to be done other than a few cavities, but I just stopped eating candy, and that was fine.
No, that's so funny that you say that, because most people like can't stand the dentist, and you've had a great experience, which is great. You got nice white teeth, which is great. That's always good. For me, like I couldn't stand the dentist because I had so many cavities because of drinking too much Gatorade from tennis. Like that was the thing. Like, cause I don't even eat candy, but it was actually Gatorade, which is kind of weird. So if you got kids, don't let them drink Gatorade. There's a lot of sugar.
Agreed.
Yeah, but that's really cool. I think it's been awesome talking with you, getting to know your life, your experiences, kind of everything that kind of encompasses you. What's next for you? Like what's next for Donald in the next year to year and a half, if you could even predict based off of everything that's going on?
Yeah, I would love to get back out there on the tour normally, travel the world, work on my game, improve my ranking. Some stuff I still want to do on the court. I would love to, help more people, more kids, and just, hopefully the world, like I just want to see it become a better place in this year. But me personally, I just want to get better at everything, mentally, physically, emotionally. I just want to be a better person in the next year. And the tennis game gets a lot better as well. I feel I can still improve at 30.
No, that's awesome. Well, we really appreciate you coming on. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us. And until next time, thanks again. Thanks, Donald.
Thanks, yeah.
Bye.
Bye.